When you practice, break the whole world down into a sequence. Your wife, your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, get them drinking, say, a cup of coffee and making breakfast. Think of that as a sequence. Start with a wide shot of them. You know, grinding the coffee. Then a tight shot of the coffee being ground. Then their hand coming into frame, putting the fry pan on the stove, and the eggs cracking. Break the whole thing down to a sequence. You can make breakfast into a 35-second, 40-second production. And it's really, really good practice.
It's all about the action shot.
Yeah, and anticipate as well. Have the camera where the action's going to be. The camera's on the stove, the fry pan comes in.
So now we're talking about you've shot your interviews, you've shot your B-roll, you've shot it from different angles, so how do you put it all together? Really, when you're watching all of this, what you're going to want to do is think about what you have and break it down to from a beginning, middle, and end. When you're looking at all your video, what would be a really great opening shot, a really great opening soundbite, and what would be really great to close it? And then you organize it from there. You want to use everyday, language, like keep it conversational. You don't really, depending on your audience, you want to speak to that audience. What I do usually when I get really blocked is like writing. I'll start off with a cliche. Like this, I use cliche as like, this girl looks normal, but really she's very special, or she's different in this way, or it was a dark and stormy night, and then all this stuff happened, and I realized that I'll go back and change that cliche. But it really helps whenever you're blocked in writing. Use sound bites that'll further a story. A lot of times, the person you're interviewing will say the facts that you need them to say, but you don't necessarily need to hear them say it. You, as the reporter, can actually say that. You can say, video camp took place at UT, as opposed to hearing the organizer say, video camp is taking place at UT. You want to use sound bites and quotes from the people that are furthering it, that are interesting. What jumps out at you, that's what you're going to want to use. You want to introduce your characters too when you're talking, the person that you're interviewing. And most importantly, log your tapes. Logging is basically transcribing your interviews so that you can really see and go back and say, well, you know what, this would make a lot of sense right here.
Excellent, and natural sound as well. You noticed in the first, the thing we showed you at the start, the spelling bee, a lot of it was the sound of the spelling bee. It was the announcer saying, spell this, or it was the tuba guy playing the tuba. That really furthers the story along. And it will make it flow better and actually make it interesting. No one wants to see talking heads. Talking heads, unless they're saying something really important, can make people turn off the set really fast.
So now we're going to breeze along through to editing. Now we're actually technically putting it together. Go ahead.
Okay, like I said, we're down and dirty where our edit time is usually 45 minutes. If I'm lucky, I've got 45 minutes. If I'm lucky, really lucky, I've got an hour. And if I've got 2 hours, I'm taking an hour for a coffee break. With the editing, I come from years ago of doing tape-to-tape editing. And I can actually edit a lot faster on tape-to-tape than non-linear. So I brought for news especially, I brought my tape-to-tape background to non-linear. So what I'll do is I'll actually put what's called the bed down. I'll choose my sound bites. I'll find the right order to put them in. If I've got a voice track, I'll put the voice track, sound bite, voice track, sound bite, voice track, sound bite, and then I'll go back and fill in the gaps. And that's really what it is. And then I'll find the natural sound that we were talking about, the tuba, and find the best place to put that in. And so I kind of create a jigsaw puzzle, where I'm just putting the pieces of the puzzle, and the video that's going to be overlaid over the top is the last piece of the puzzle. The bed with the sound bites and the voice track is the first piece of the puzzle. And it's a really quick, fast way to create a sort of a documentary framework.
So you're laying down your audio before even thinking about your visuals.
Exactly.
Right?
Video comes last for me. And then after I put the audio down, I can really start to think about what video is going to work
with what they're saying.
With what they're saying, exactly.
And another thing with editing that actually one of the people who's producing this right now, I learned from him is, when you're looking at your video and you're editing it, and this is really just a trial and error process. You go in and you just, if you've learned your software and you just start putting the video down. And what you want to do when you're looking at your videos, you want to make sure that there's no reason for that viewer to come out and realize, you're bringing them into a story, so there's no reason for, you don't want to give the viewer a reason to get out of that story and realize, oh, I'm watching a video on YouTube. So you want to make sure your audio levels are smooth, that there are no pops with the audio, if at all possible. No black frames, even just that one black frame. You want to push yourself to make them as perfect as possible, and that was from Adam Scott, years at CBS working next to him. So you just want to make sure that you're not giving a viewer a reason to come out of the story you're telling.
Best video first. As soon as you point a camera at something, chronology and chronological order is out the window. You've distorted reality as soon as you pointed that camera. So if the explosion happened at the end of the day, not at the start, and you've got this video at the start, you don't have to go through the start of the day to get to the end. Start with the explosion. Suck people in. They want to see, they'll see the explosion and they'll keep on watching. Classic case was down at Bob Bullock Museum. Austin Fire Department had a mock house which they caught on fire to show how fast a house will go up on fire. And there was so much prologue to it, and the actual explosion was so fast that to get people sucked in, I had to just wipe everything else off the table and just start with the end. And then sort of move a little bit backwards from there. My interviews happened before the explosion, but I had to move backwards from there. And show the explosion over and over again, show it from different angles if you can. I mean, use your best video you've got, and then sort of stagger from there. If you're starting to use the, keep the stuff that's not so good. I call the safety shots, and we all shoot them. It's the wide shot. Keep that one for sort of the end if you desperately need it. If you got the explosion really tight, go for it.
All right, so that's an overview on editing, and so now we're talking about actually being on camera, right? The most important thing I would say is if you don't need to be in the story, then don't, especially if you don't feel necessarily comfortable with it. What's really cool is with Andy's piece, he shot all of that, but you've never heard a reporter track or a voiceover. But if you do, want to lean in that level and you want to demonstrate something and show people what's going on, then really, just remember to keep it upbeat. And something that I learned from anchors when I was in CBS was remember to talk through your smile. I mean, that'll really help you remember that this is something upbeat and fun. And another phrase that I learned that I really love, it's you're being you, it's just turned up, So I think that that's really fun too. And also you want to just make sure you practice, and practicing in front of the mirror is nothing to be ashamed of, because you need to know, oh, I tend to frown crunch my face up, I get really nervous and start talking. I need to know that I do that, I need to know that my shoulders need to be back, and for women, turn your hips a little bit while you're standing on one side. I was told that I stand like a linebacker when I talk, so I was really glad to work with a beauty queen who could help me, with some of these tips. So, you want to know what you look like, so practicing in the mirror or just recording yourself and knowing I tend to stumble when I say this word or whatever. Just practice, basically, with all of this, right? It's practice.
Yeah, and if you're doing video blogs or YouTube videos, you always see people sort of sitting down and looking up into the screen. The worst way to deliver your voice is sitting down. Everything's compacted, your diaphragm's compacted and things like that. So maybe think about putting the webcam up and actually standing up if you're going to do your vlog. And that will make your voice sound a lot better. Another tip is, if you want to sound a bit more newsy, is to start with a 3, 2, 1 countdown, but start high and come low. So 3, 2, 1. We're here at Austin Video Camp, and I'm putting on my news voice.
Who wants news voice?
That's if you want a news voice.
A whole new media. I think we should all just be yourself, show some personality. Unless you actually are on the news, then you have to be subjective, objective. Freudian slip. So we have put all of these tips on everzales.com. That's basically my husband's, the first part of his last name and the last part of my last name. So now that we've told you kind of how the sausage is made, we're going to show another piece that Andy has done, so you can kind of see these tricks that we've all been talking about.
Well, there might be a few more artistic works walking around this morning. The 7th annual Star of Texas Tattoo Art Revival came through Austin this weekend. Newsday photojournalist Andy Brooksbank spent yesterday afternoon with some artists who say there's a fine art element to their craft.
I think I knew I was going to be a tattoo artist I was maybe 16 years old.
When I was 14, I decided to hand poke a tattoo on my arm, but I wouldn't say that was any great beginning of my career. The apprenticeship part was kind of tough.
A year and a half of complete torture.